Do you struggle finding the best entry and exit points trading? Here at Derpy Trades, we are all about seeking financial freedom through the lens of technical analysis. Every video will provide multiple potentially tradable setups and go over just how much you could make with each. Today, we're going over SPY, VIX, Dixie, AMZN, SLV, and you're going to have to stick around to find out the mystery ticker. All right, so let's get into this. I'm going to switch over to the 2-hour time frame. And so this is what I've noticed is going on. We had a bit of an uptrending line here. And, we bounced this first time, got back above it. And now we're actually underneath that. We appear to have formed kind of like an ascending channel right now. So price could still bounce around in here. But as you can see, we rejected off of this main resistance line of that gigantic rising wedge pattern. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please check out that analysis. It should be linked over here, and you can follow that video. That was the very first video that I posted. And, a lot of people say that my charts are messy. I always keep previous support and resistance lines, supply and demand, channels, because I believe it or not, price often respects them. So if you think that my charts are messy, please make sure to hit that like button. But back to this. So we can see we had a rejection here, not a really strong rejection because obviously we're still within this channel here. I'm going to switch over to ES real quick, which again, if you're not familiar, ES is the futures for this. And we're going to zoom out a little bit. In fact, I'm even going to go back up to the weekly. On the futures, you can see here, we still haven't touched that main resistance line for this pattern here. And it's the way that things, they fall on different schedules, so to speak, on SPY and ES. So there's always the possibility it could break that resistance line on SPY and then go on up to the resistance line on ES. Let's move on over to the VIX. The VIX, this is some stuff I've been following for a while. Again, this is on the weekly time frame. You can see this is kind of like a big old megaphone pattern. Almost every single time that something has touched this support line, fear has bounced. Now let's zoom back into the 2-hour. I noticed this. We got a downtrend in fear, down, 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 down. But you know what? Eventually that has to break. And we have a major support line here. So this right here is the pattern target. If this is to be treated as like a descending triangle, this is the pattern target for the breakout here. You can see this is putting us probably around the 14 for VIX, up into this kind of supply zone for fear, so to speak. But if that breaks out, we could definitely see the markets go red. And that looks like it's going to happen either tomorrow or possibly Tuesday. I think somebody might be speaking, if you know what I'm talking about. And, and while I'm thinking about, we're all here to learn. So if you know something that could help the community, please leave it in a comment below. And we're going to switch on over now to AMZN. This was one of the stock picks that somebody wanted me to look at, and I'm glad they did because I found some interesting things going on in here. So we can see this is on the 2-hour time frame. There is a bit of a wedge pattern that's going on right here. There's always a possibility this could break to the upside, but there's also the possibility it could break to the downside. And so what we want to do is we want to see, the price right now is around 200. If this were to break to the downside, the pattern target is around about 193. And you can see too, we've got some bearish divergence that's forming here. So I would assume this is definitely more likely to break to the downside. So let's see what that would look like over on option strat. Just to get kind of an idea, like what would the payout for that be? All right. So current price for the stock is around 200. So we're looking at the put, and we are looking at AMZN. All right. So these are the current implied volatility and the range for it. And, so the target was like 193. Okay. So let's drag that over a little bit. So if you paid about $573 for this put right now, and the price came down to 193, within the next few days, it's not gonna do a whole lot for you because the IV is so high. But if IV were to, let's say, double, now you can see you're getting in the money. So because the IV for these options, the at the money options is kind of high already, this would be more of like an IV play if you really you wanted to make money on it, because it would have to drop below the pattern target for you to make money the way that things are right now. So let's go back. Now, if we're looking at this, let's zoom on out to the weekly. This is what I was very interested in. So we see we have a big old support line that's going along here, and then we have a resistance line that's going along here. This kind of looks like it's forming a bit of a channel. And we can see we had a more of a minor support line that was going on here, and if you converge it with that there, a bit of a rising wedge that was going on here, which we can see broke down, but then it hit this support. Now, what's interesting is if you do if we take a pattern target, a measured move from here to here, drag it up here, we can see that if this actually is going to act like a rising wedge, this is targeting around 155. And so let's switch back over to option strat again. So I want you to see this. It's crazy. Now, we would want to probably have this going on out to the end of the year, because this is on a weekly time frame, so it's got to have some time to move. But let's bring this back down to about 1x. And we want to see our 155-ish target. And right there we go. So what this is saying is right now, if you paid about $1,500 for this put and we hit our pattern target, you could double your money. If IV went up though, this is going to go up a little bit too as well. And of course, you're going to be making money on the way down as that IV were to go up. Again, this would not be an IV trade in my opinion. This would be more of like a long swing trade if somebody wanted to take it. And let's go back. Okay. So, one thing that I wanted to mention is I'm periodically going to revisit setups that we've gone over and see which ones played out. So I'm expecting you cool cats to keep me accountable. And one thing I probably should have mentioned is, what am I doing here whenever I chart these? This is a main resistance line. This is a support line. This is a support line. And these things that are kind of shaded areas, these are what a lot of people will call like supply and demand zones. These are some areas of support and resistance, but they're not exact lines. So if you see these on my chart, that's kind of what they represent. So we're going to hop on over now to a chart of silver. And let's take a look at this. I'm going to switch back down to the 2 hour. So what I saw is going on here, bit of another rising edge action. Full disclosure, I've got a little bit of SLV in my portfolio right now, but this is looking like it could break down, and price is moving right now, so this has actually moved my line a little bit, but that's okay. Let's fix that. So this is targeting, like if this breaks down, looks like it came up here, come on, looks like it's targeting around 2760-ish. But what's interesting is and let's go ahead and zoom back out to the weekly, what that's targeting is still inside of this ascending channel. It's targeting within that support line. So if this ascending channel in orange continues on up, we could see silver continue on up pretty much for a lot. And I wanted to zoom out to the weekly to show you guys this. So we've got a main support line down here, a main resistance line up here. This is on the weekly time frame. This resistance line had never been broken, and we broke out of it. So if we take a pattern target, a measured move from here, and drag it on over here, what we get is that this is potentially targeting, and this would take weeks, probably years, around $63 per share. Let's zoom back in just a little bit again. So I mean, what we see here is nowhere even close to that pattern target if we could get there. All right. And so now let's switch over to our mystery ticker, and this is one of the requested tickers. And I'm so thankful that you asked me to look into this. So let's zoom out and let's see what's going on. What's the big picture? Up here we have an all-time high. We got an all-time low. Bit of a supply zone going on here. A resistance level. What I noticed is one could argue that this was a bit of a inverted head and shoulders pattern that happened. This was the neckline, and on my charts I do use a logarithmic scale, and so I'm going to drag this so you can see this. If you take a measured move, see how that expanded? Drag it up here from the breakout. We basically fulfilled that pattern target there and back in history, even just kind of expanded about above it just a little bit, but this played out like beautifully. And what's kind of cool is one could also argue that on the weekly time frame, really on the monthly, if you look at this, zoom out, we got a shoulder, big head, possibly another shoulder. If we can break through this supply zone around $3 to $4, I could definitely see this starting to try fill in some gaps. On the 2-hour time frame as well, you can see we kept hitting this kind of shorter term resistance. We bounced up, rejected, came up, rejected. We're above it now. This means that there is a trend change. And once you get a trend change, a lot of things can change. I'm going to load my study set here. I like the RSI, some moving averages, and the Ichimoku cloud. If you're not familiar with the Ichimoku cloud, it is amazing, and I would highly recommend learning it. If you would like me to create a video on how to use the Ichimoku cloud, make sure to leave a comment in the description below. And also, make sure to drop a comment below with a ticker of your choice, because I'm going to be selecting up to 3 to perform TA on, and you got to make sure that you're subscribed and tap that notification bell to see if you're one of the cool cats to get a free analysis. So without further ado, I also want to take us on to today's trading rule to live by.